Welcome to Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. My name is Demetrius. This is a podcast for fans of the Detroit Lions, so it's a good time to do this podcast, right? I always acknowledge the super producer extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Ward, every podcast, the godfather of the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. Without Mike Ward, there is no Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast, so we always acknowledge the godfather. So, divisional round of the playoffs for the 2023 NFL season. The Detroit Lions, the Detroit Lions in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We haven't gotten to say that. Hosting, haven't gotten to say that. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Winner gets to go to San Francisco, take on the 49ers, who, all hyperbole aside, escaped with a win last night, Saturday night, in case you're watching at some other time. They got out of town. They got out of the stadium with a win that we can debate whether or not they deserve. But the Lions in Tampa show up today, face off. Winner gets to go to Frisco for the right to go to the Super Bowl. I'm going to pause for a second. Right? I'm a Detroit Lions fan. It's clear, right? If you're looking at the screen, there's no doubt. If you know me, there's no doubt. There are people who think it was just a game, not a big deal. Okay, I don't know who your team is then, right? So there have been people who say, hey, how are you going to talk about this? There are all the ways you can think of. There is the giddy kid in me who set foot in the Pontiac Silverdome and said, wow, right? There's that guy. There's the dude who's in the 5th year of doing this podcast. And people have literally said to me, why do you do a Detroit Lions podcast? I've had people say that to me, and I get it. There is the analytical mind that keeps looking at this team and thinking, God, we got a shot, right? 3 years ago today, I'm pretty sure it was 3 years ago to the day, the Lions introduced Dan Campbell as the head coach. And we got the infamous kneecap speech, right? And people made fun of him. And I didn't know. And I'm comfortable enough with myself that when I don't know, I will say, I don't know. I didn't know. But 3 years ago to now, it's not supposed to be this. I don't want to use the word easy because a lot of people have worked really hard, right? So the intro point, first of all, hopefully you are a fan of the Lions, but even if you're not, hopefully you'll hit a like or a retweet or something. This podcast is called the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast for a reason. I am that guy that a lot of people hate because I'm always optimistic. I'm optimistic in life. I am, multiply that by 1,000. And that's how I am with this football team. There are other people who are just like me. There's millions of people just like me. And I say all the time, I'm just a guy who said, screw it, I'm going to do a podcast. There's 100 Detroit Lions podcasts. I've looked at a bunch of them. They're pretty good. The thing that I think I like to believe makes mine interesting and different is that, much like right now, the game ended 40 minutes ago. There is an emotion that we have after regular games. There's an emotion we have after a week 6 win or a week 8 win that we, as fans of our football teams, and it doesn't matter if you're a Lions fan or not, you have to decompress, right? And the godfather is Mike Ward because I walked into work one day and Mike said, how did the Lions game go? And 40 minutes later, he said, wow, that's how I am. It was a decompression. And he said, you should do a podcast. And we talked about it. We did it. And 5 years later, here we are. First couple of years was crazy. Then we got smart and we got real with it. So here we are. And the Lions are a game away from going to the Super Bowl. I could do a whole speech about unbelievable and how excited. People who know me already know. People sent me congratulations text messages today like I did something, which I did not. I didn't make a play. I didn't make a tackle. But they know me. And they know for me what a big deal this is. It's a big deal for the city. It's a big deal for the fan base. There's millions of Lions fans. There's a million of them. I'm just one, right? But when you invest in your team and this doesn't happen in the 5 years of the podcast, we haven't been here. In 30 years, we haven't been here. In my lifetime, we haven't really been here because this team is good enough to go to San Francisco and win. Today's final was 31-23. I jumped right in. Sorry. That's how it goes. This is a freewheeling type of podcast. I'm going to talk a little bit about what this means to the city. I'm going to talk a little bit about the game and what and then we're going to take some Twitter questions, right? And if you want to jump in the comments and say something, I'll take this thing totally off the rails and talk about anything. Why? Because my team is a game away from going to the Super Bowl. And and yeah, that's never happened. I mean, it's happened once, but if you're old enough like me to remember that week, we knew the Washington football team was better. We knew that. We were excited. We had beaten Dallas, and I'm taking you back to 92 or whatever, and I'm not going to do that for long. It's different. It's different because this Detroit Lions team is good enough to go to San Francisco and win this game and actually go to the Super Bowl. And that's a big deal. I don't care who you are. If you're listening to this podcast, my guess is you understand and appreciate the value of sports in society, right? I have done lectures like in environments with people who've said to me, why is sports important? And I talk about camaraderie and I talk about investing. I talk about having something that you can commit to outside of your regular life stuff. I have told a story, probably on this podcast, about the 1991, I'm going to say, Detroit Pistons, the second Piston bad boy team. And my good friend Art, who's probably listening, and I went to the Palace of Auburn Hills to watch it on a screen. And they won on a last second shot. And a man I did not know, I was 20-ish, 22, 21. A man I did not know, happened to be white, doesn't matter. I didn't know him. I hadn't spoken to him. When they won on a last second shot by Vinnie Johnson with 0.007 seconds, this man picked me up. He's a big man because I'm 6'3", 220, 230. He picked me up like a baby. He's a big man. And he hugged me. Not like just like, oh, like you hug some. This man embraced me, right? And there was nothing weird about it because our team had just won. That's the kind of stuff sports does. I have been in Europe, in different countries, wearing Lions gear. And I've had people go, let's go Lions. People I don't know just yell across airports. It transcends everything. If I see you and you're wearing a Lions shirt, I don't care about your politics. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't even need your name. We're friends. For now, for this split second, I'm going to acknowledge you because I know what you have been through and you know what I've been through. That's the kind of stuff that this is about. It is about people. I'm just going to give a blanket language apology right now. I'm not going to go out of my way to say certain things, but I know that after a game like this, I'm amped up on coffee and emotion. Dangerous combination. I'm going to say some stuff that some people might be like, oh, I don't really care. I don't really care. It's my podcast. I can do what I want. People have shit on Detroit as a city for years. They have shit on this team. They have shit on us as fans. And I'm tired of it, right? And so this dude came in 3 years ago and dropped a kneecap comment, and the national media ran with it. And they said, oh, look at Detroit hiring this dude, right? They didn't know who Brad Holmes was. They didn't realize that Sheila was a gangster. Sheila sat a group of people down and said, this is my vision. This is what I want to build. Go build it. And I still say, love Dan Campbell. Straight man crush on Brad Holmes. Sheila built this. Don't get it twisted. You can get mad at me if you want. Sheila did this. And I'm not trying to get everybody to love our owner. I don't really care. I don't really care. They built a team that someone asked me the other day in 3 words, describe the Lions. And if you know me, I can't say anything in 3 words. That's just not me. Give me 300 words and great. 3 words. And I thought for a while, I considered grit and salty and all the cool ones that are on shirts, right? My friend James, thanks, James. I appreciate the congratulations. The 3 words I went with was find a way. This team just finds a way. And I'm sticking with it. That's the one I feel is best because there are moments during the game. There are moments during the week And I love the attitude of we feel really good about ourselves. And as the week goes on and the game gets closer, some people's minds start to play tricks. Oh, what if Baker gets hot? Or did you see what they did to the Eagles? What if Rashad, the running back, what if he goes off? You start trying to find ways. That's scars from historic Lions stuff, right? That's what that is. This team finds a way every time. And so you're sitting there at 10-10 at halftime. And I was watching the game. They said, "Are you comfortable right now?" And I said, "The end of the day, we're still the better team. We're still the better team." I said 5-6 weeks ago on a podcast, every week the Lions are playing the same team. They're playing the Detroit Lions. That's who they're playing. And the third quarter, they came out and they did what they do. They ran the ball. Jared Goff, I could do 45 minutes on Goff, but I don't think you guys want me to. I don't think you guys want me to. I could, but I'm not going to. They're one win away from the Super Bowl, and that's not a joke. And it's not me eating cornbread or drinking Kool-Aid. I might have to change the name of the damn podcast because they're good and it's legit. It's not some pipe dream, right? We're a game away from the Super Bowl. They came out today and played a basically clean game. Cam Sutton had a bad game, right? And I'm not going to badmouth anybody. Well, maybe. They didn't even play their best game today, won it comfortably, and they're a game away from going to the Super Bowl. They didn't turn the ball over. Jared Goff, man, I don't know what you guys want. If you're not a Goff guy, I don't know. Hit me in the comments. Tell me what else you need from Goff. He was 30 of 43 today, 287. I'm going to say 287, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And more importantly, was just really smart with the football all day. All day. So there's nothing but joy pouring out of me right now. Even if I mention some things as I recap the game, I'm just filled with joy. Joe, the first half was sketchy. And guys, the way I do this, if you drop a comment in, I'll probably just talk about it because it's worthwhile to me to do that. And people throw some really good stuff in. And Joe said simply the first half was sketchy. Agree. And as I go through the game, we can talk about that. I'll tell you why I think it was sketchy. I think missed tackles are normally a thing. I thought they were pretty good, but okay, I'll jump right into the game. Goff was solid today. I know Ben Johnson only has a couple games left with us. I didn't love the play calling in the first half, and I hate to say it. And I laughed through this whole segment where I pick apart the game after we won, and I'm telling you that I'm at an emotional level because we're one game from the Super Bowl that I've never been in. And I can vividly remember the week heading into the Washington game. I had hope. I didn't have a lot, but it was hope. It was clearly hope. That's not where I am now. This team is good enough to go out to Santa Clara, California next week and win a football game, right? I will echo Joe's next statement. If Frank Ragnow can go and Jonah Jackson can go, the offensive line is what we're built by. I said a month ago, the most important player on our team is Frank Ragnow. I love Jared Goff. You guys know how I feel about Jared Goff. I love Jahmyr Gibbs, St. Brown, a bunch of guys. The most important player on this football team is and has been for probably 2 years, Frank Ragnow. And if Frank goes down, now Glasgow has to slide over to center and somebody else is playing guard. It is, but Frank gutted it out. So Frank will probably be fine next week. Jonah Jackson may not. That was a knee. It didn't sound good. I don't know. All right, let's get into the game. I will credit at the risk of losing my friendship with Art, who I don't despise this. Art probably doesn't despise him. Art's not an AG fan. We'll leave it at that. I thought early in the game, AG showed we're bringing pressure however we have to do it. And what I saw was homework being done during the week. They came off the edge. We know, we learned early, middle of the season, we can't get pressure with 4. And it sucks, but we had to accept it. With James Houston out, Hutch is the only guy in the line that can get pressure, rushing 4. And they often double him. Aleem is good against the run. We can't get pressure with 4. So AG said, screw it. I'm gonna throw Branch in the slot. I'm gonna bring Melon Fonwu up. And they got pressure from corners blitzing off the edge. I don't care how you do it. It worked. It worked. I thought the interception by, I guess I got to call him CD Deuce now, is what Gardner Johnson's new name is. So I'm going to call him Deuce. Um, it's just a great play. And that was up the middle. I think somebody batted the ball. Might have been Benito Jones. Somebody batted the ball. But Tampa helped us. Jamel Dean dropped one of Goff's 3 bad throws all day, which is a compliment to Goff considering he threw the ball 37 times. One of his 3 bad throws should have been an interception in the end zone. It was not. I wasn't happy that drive ended in a field goal, though, because I didn't feel like we were being aggressive. But now the other team's good. They're in the divisional round for a reason. And I think Tampa Bay made a commitment that they were going to try and stop our run. And in the first half, they were effective. But we could move the ball. I just felt like Goff was sharp. I felt like defensively we were holding our own. And then you have those plays in the game that make your stomach hurt, right? And you wonder. And we're up 10-3 middle of the second, and St. Brown dropped a huge 3rd and 10. And I thought, oh. But I had to get out of that thinking. That's old thinking. That's thinking of the 3 letters I don't say. That's those other guys that say that stuff. I don't say that, right? And then we got some big sacks, and I thought, this is just another Lions game in 2023, now 2024. It's not going to be easy. It probably won't be a blowout, but they're going to find a way to win this game. So when they came out and they scored on the first drive, they got the ball in the second half, I said, I see what I see. I see what I see, right? Frank and Jonah got hurt on like consecutive plays or within 4 or 5 plays. I was concerned. Not today, but long term. Frank is so important. But Frank and Jonah, now next week becomes much more difficult. But then they score on their second drive. And I said, hey, you know what? I got to go back. Because indulge me in a little story. I ran into a friend of mine the other day, somebody I hadn't seen in 30 years. And how are we friends if I haven't seen him in 30 years? Because this is my very best friend growing up, like from 6 years old through high school. This was my best friend, right? And we literally just hadn't seen him. And I'm walking through the airport. And I'm like, what the? And then I go over and it's like, yo. And we chop it up for, I don't know, 45 minutes, everything, kids, golf. We talk a bunch of stuff. And at some point, because I was wearing a Lions shirt, I mentioned the podcast, we talk about the Lions. And he said at some point in the conversation, Cam Sutton is garbage. And I stopped like, wait, what? Because I defend Cam Sutton. I think that Cam Sutton had like 14 good games, but the other 4, now 5, is really bad. I can't defend him anymore. But Jeff said, Cam Sutton's garbage. And I was like, wow. And then the end of the second quarter was hot garbage. He got caught looking in the backfield on one play. He missed a jam on another play. Then he flat got beat on a third play. That whole possession, I put at the feet of Cam Sutton. Now, I'm going to be honest. All that being said, I'm still a Cam Sutton guy. I don't like Art gives AG a C. I thought the defense played pretty well. And I put that drive at the end of the second quarter largely at the feet of Cam Sutton. And I'm still a Cam Sutton guy because his overall numbers are still good to me. Cam Sutton didn't play well in the last 2 minutes of the first half. And he's had a rough stretch for about 4 games now, maybe 5. So I can't continue to defend Cam Sutton the way I had. And I don't know, maybe we find out something's wrong, but we also can't act like Mike Evans isn't a damn good football player because he is. So, but Jefferson did it to him, and then CeeDee Lamb did it, and then Jefferson did it again, and then Puka Nacua did it, and now Mike Evans. Now, some of that scheme, I'm not throwing all this on Cam Sutton. I think AG's scheme, if I'm starting to understand it, and I don't disagree with Art. I'm gonna agree with Art and say AG probably gets a C. I think his scheme is a C because it's designed to let players see this openness between the 20s. I think that scheme relies on the field getting shorter and smaller in the red zone, so there's less space and guys making plays. But the one thing that this scheme lacks is pass pressure when you're not blitzing. And if and when it bites us, and I'm not prepared to say we're not able to beat any of the 5 teams. 5 as of now, it's 5. No, 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. that we're incapable of beating any of the 4 teams on a neutral field. I haven't forgotten what Baltimore did to us in Baltimore. I contend we played our worst game and they played one of their best. And Lamar Jackson is the kryptonite. It is a mobile quarterback who can throw on the move. That is not the matchup I would ask for, right? But AG's scheme is designed to let teams move the ball, and then we tighten up in the red zone. And the best example was really the Rams, where they got 3 field goals and we got 3 touchdowns. That ultimately was the difference in the game. But today, Cam Sutton had a stretch where he didn't play well. We made a few mistakes. We made some mistakes, but we also made some plays. And guess what? They're good. Mike Evans is really good. So coming out of halftime, the third quarter, sometimes they're just plays, right? There was a chop block by David Montgomery. That was a devastating play in the game. That game, I think it was 10-10 at the time. And at the time, I felt like if I were that dude, the people I hate and I don't talk about, I would have said those 3 letters. That felt like those 3 letters. You know, I did not feel good about that. But Hutch made a big sack that pushed him out of field goal range. Plays are happening now, and we should have challenged the play, by the way, where Baker was down, right? Baker was down. That should have been challenged. So there's these plays in the game that have me trying to figure out what's happening. But the first 3 possessions for the Lions in the second half were touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. So at that point, what I saw was we are a better team. We are imposing our will. Gibbs' touchdown was awesome. And then St. Brown makes a couple of big plays that make me forget about the drop earlier. We began, and I used the royal we, and I don't really care who says something about it. I didn't make a play. I didn't catch a pass. I know that. But we started to impose our will on them. And that is what we want to see. That is what we're always looking for. That's who we are, right? This is a team that finds a way. My 3 words are still they find a way. And I still, an hour 20 after the game, I'm on the podcast now with people. I appreciate your support. Anybody watching, the thumbs up, the hearts, the likes, the reposts, the retweets, all that stuff matters. The Lions are 1 win from going to the Super Bowl. It's still blowing my mind, just the thought. Because I think I said weeks ago, I think this team can beat anybody. They play to their capabilities, they can beat anybody. And the thing about them is, outside of the Denver game, that Saturday night game against Denver, where I think they played all 3 phases, their best football this year, they're not going to they're just going to play good enough to win. And if they do that 2 more times, right? They don't have to forget about 2 more times. Just you do it next week, right? I'm going to stick with that concept. Do it next week. The Lions can go to the Super Bowl, y'all. It's not even. And my cousin Daryl, who is always the one who brings me down to reality when I get cornbready and Kool-Aid-y. Daryl's doing this. Wait a minute, man. Wait a minute. And he was like, wait a minute. No, Daryl's like, you know what? They're good enough to win the whole thing. It's like, we got Daryl. We got Daryl. He's like, they're good enough to win. No, Joe, you're dead right. Joe just got me 1 game at a time. I can't. I want to go there so bad. I want to do 20 minutes on the matchup, whether it's Baltimore, Buffalo, or Kansas City. And that game's 13-10 Kansas City right now. Yeah, it's on in the background. It's that big a deal. But it doesn't matter. We don't have to play all 3 of them. So why should I scout all 3? We're only going to have to play 1, and we can do this next week if, to Joe's point, 1 game at a time. Let's win that one. And I agree. My friend James just said Green Bay exposed San Francisco. And I agree. And I'll do a couple minutes on that just for fun. Jordan Love's good, but he still does young guy stuff because probably everybody on this podcast, if I asked a question, will give me the right answer. And I'll throw it out there, and you guys can throw it into the tweets as you want. The first page of Quarterbacking 101, the thing you never do, he did, right? The number 1 thing, I've heard it a million times. There's something you never do as a quarterback. You just don't, right? You don't do it. And he did it. And I don't know if they would have won, but my feeling is they missed a field goal. It cost them self-inflicted wound. They dropped a pick six earlier in the game. Savage. What's Savage's first name? Don't remember. Dante. No, they have a corner or D back. Last name Savage. Dropped an easy pick six. He might not have. He probably would have scored. You can't. That is points you gave away. And then, quite frankly, McCaffrey's touchdown should have never happened because it was a delay of game. It was a delay of game, and the refs do what the refs do. And I'm not going to do the ref thing. Why? Because the Lions won, and they're one game from the Super Bowl. And I don't feel like doing the ref thing again because the league doesn't care. They don't give a damn. And the Lions won, and they're one game from the Super Bowl. So I don't have a reason to do. The officiating in the National Football League is horrible. Full stop. I got no more on that. I want to do a whole segment on golf. I do. I'm not going to. Don't worry. I'm not going to. But what I saw Jordan Love do last night that allowed San Francisco to escape with the win was you never throw late over the middle. You just don't do it. That's on page 1 of the book. You don't throw late over the middle. Yeah, my brother just dropped a Cam Sutton comment. Yeah, Kenny, I did the Cam Sutton thing earlier. I ran into to Jeff the other day. I hadn't seen him since we were in high school, and one of his comments was Cam Sutton's garbage. So I did a few minutes on that earlier. I don't know if he's garbage. I know he's had a bad 6 weeks or so. But I almost want to throw it out to the crowd. What do you guys want from Jared Goff? What do I need? Can I get a general consensus on what we think of Jared Goff? You guys know how I feel about Jared Goff, but that offense gets in a rhythm. I talk about quarterback play a lot from 2 perspectives. Good decisions and good throws. And there's an important component to that where Matthew Stafford had an arm where he could take chances. He could try stuff because his arm was so good. So he could make a bad decision and an exceptional throw and get away with it. I'm the first to tell you Jared Goff does not have the right arm that Matthew Stafford has. He cannot do that. He often throws ducks. He threw J-Mo a duck, but J-Mo caught it and it was 20-something yards, so I don't care what it looked like, right? Jared Goff has to make good decisions because he doesn't always make great throws. But I don't know what anybody wants from Goff anymore. I said, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, put a 4-year extension for $170 million in front of Jared Goff, $190 million in front of Jared Goff's agent day after tomorrow, and let's be done with it, right? If I could get 3 years, 150, I would do it. It's going to take somewhere between 48 and 50 million per year with a bunch of it guaranteed to sign your 29-year-old quarterback. And if you understand that, I will say it for the 10th time, the Detroit Lions are 1 win away from the Super Bowl. It still doesn't feel right. And Jared Goff's been the quarterback for all of those games. I believe Teddy Bridgewater has taken exactly 0 snaps this year. I believe that Hendon Hooker has taken exactly 0. Jared Goff's our quarterback. He is, and he should be. And he's 29, guys. He's 29 years old. Why on earth do we think that if we continue to draft the way we draft, if we continue to manage the cap the way we manage the cap, that this team won't get better? And if the offensive line stays good, if you draft and or sign what most people would consider a number 1 receiver, Jared Goff will get better. David Montgomery's under contract for 2 more years. Jahmyr Gibbs is a rookie. Sam Laporta is a rookie. You got to re-up Penei Sewell, which you'll do. You're going to have to either re-up or replace Jonah Jackson. Ragnow's under contract for a couple more. This team is set up to be good for another 3 or 4 years with Jared Goff as quarterback. So that's my golf rant. I'm done. Let's do some Twitter. And like I said, you guys can jump in any comments you want. I'm obviously hype. Like I said, a combination of joy and caffeine can do that to a Lions fan who has never seen what he saw today. And that's where I am right now. So again, I appreciate everybody listening and sticking in. It's awesome. This is where we are. So what's the first one, Mike? What do you think the national narrative will be this week? Oh, good Lord. You're going to make me talk about the 4-letter. Okay, so we know what it is, right? And I'm fine with it. We understand what happens. I don't have any expectations And for those who don't know, if you're new, I have an unnatural disdain for ESPN as an organization that calls itself the worldwide leader. Because if you're the leader, my understanding of leadership, both in real life work that I do, a leader understands that they have some degree of responsibility for the people that follow. And I think ESPN has for a long time been a joke as it relates to sports and journalism. I think at some point they became TMZ Sports. I don't like the organization. I don't like what they do. Now I am forced to. I have to watch them at times because it is the source for information. I do a podcast. I'm a massive sports fan. I'm not sitting here saying I don't watch them. In fact, I do quite often, and most of the times I hate it. But I don't have a lot of choice. They embrace the E in ESPN, which stands for entertainment, and basically forgot about the S, which stands for sports. And they will put two people, any random two talking heads on the screen, and they'll give you their opinion. And last week, all of their experts picked the Rams. They did. So tomorrow, they're going to take an hour. An hour on ESPN is going to look like this. 20 minutes on the Ravens, 20 minutes on Buffalo and or Kansas City. 20 minutes on the Dallas Cowboys for no reason at all. I caught that one. For no reason at all. But they're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. They'll mention Green Bay. They'll probably mention Tampa, and they'll talk about the Lions for 11 minutes. That's what they do. Right, exactly. Because great point, Brian. A good chunk of the Kansas City time is going to be dedicated to Taylor Swift. So that might be 30 minutes on, Kansas City, but there's going to be a 4 to 5 minute mention of the Lions, right? And that stopped bothering me a long time ago. I acknowledge it, but it just doesn't bother me, right? They will spend more time talking about Dallas's coach, who still has a job. Nothing's happening in Dallas. The organization has done nothing interesting, but they'll spend more time talking about Dallas than they will Detroit. And like I said, this is the same group of people who they're going to tell you are experts. That whole group that picked the Rams last week. And I don't know who they picked this week because I was too disgusted. They're going to tell you that Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in the league, that he should be the MVP, because they told you Dak Prescott was the MVP until he crapped the bed last week. That's what they do. That's what they do. That's great. Some fans care about it. I used to care about it. Other fans keep receipts. You can go on Twitter. They post screenshots of the picks every week saying, yep, here we go. They're going to do it again. Right? They're going to do stuff on Bill's Mafia, right? They're going to do all that stuff. Nowhere in there, they're going to say, hey, guys, wait a minute. We might have slept on the Lions. Nowhere in there, they're going to say, a couple people, the guys who are Lions specific, the former Jet linebacker from Detroit, whose name escapes me right now. Somebody can help me out. The can't wait dude. I love that dude. He's from Detroit, right? He's 313. So he's going to probably pick the Lions. But for the most part, they're going to do a cute little, oh, look at Detroit, all the years of. I said I wasn't salty, but I sound very, very salty. I don't like that network. The question was about the national media, and I'm just trying to answer it. They don't give a damn about the Lions. They never will. I don't really care. If a story's not out of New York or LA, or it's about the Cowboys, they have a set group of teams and cities that they give a damn about, that because they're not in a journalism business. They're not in the news business. They're not. They're an opinion shaping organization. At some point they decided all we're going to do is we have one flagship program where you get stories, and the rest is put any two faces, any two talking heads, or 4 or 3, put them on a TV screen, put them wherever, and let them talk. Okay. I outside of a couple people, Ryan Clark and a couple of others who I like, that organization is not for me, right? But I don't really engage and fall for the banana in the tailpipe anymore. That's it. I don't give them that kind of energy. I look to them for information sometimes, but for the most part, I don't really care, right? Right. So as long as I remember what it is they do, I'm fine. They don't bother me. They're not about journalism. They're not about balanced coverage. They do what they do. So to answer your question, they don't give a damn about Detroit, and the national narrative is going to be simple. Um, as I don't see any way the Lions can go into San Francisco and beat the 49ers. 49ers is too good, and McCaffrey's too good, and Purdy's the MVP. And it's just that defense and Fred Warner, and that's what they're going to do, right? They'll go heavy Ravens, and the Ravens deserve it. They'll talk about the Buffalo Kansas City winner. They're damn sure going to talk about Taylor Swift. They're going to talk Dallas Cowboys because that's what they're there for, right? And oh, yeah, the Lions are the sacrificial lamb going to San Francisco. So my answer is, yeah, it will be what it always is, and I won't give a damn. That's how I feel about that. So give me another one. Are we at the point where we are satisfied? This is good no matter what happens next. No, hell no. No, you move the goalposts. Your expectations are allowed to change. They're at a place they haven't been at since I started doing this podcast. This podcast I'm doing right now, this is new. I don't know how to do this. They're at a place they haven't been at in 30 years. And like I said, we kind of knew they weren't good enough to beat that Washington team, right? I think the Washington at the time Redskins beat them 45-0 in the season opener in DC. I don't think Barry played though. Yeah, Barry didn't play that game. They blew him out in the opener. So now you're going back there for the NFC Championship game. But through that season, it was clear the Washington football team was the best team in the league. And that there is no Washington 1991 Washington team in the league today. As good as Baltimore is, I don't know that they could have. It's a different kind of football, but I don't know if they've rolled through the league like that Washington team did. The San Francisco 49ers are certainly not that Washington team. They had a 3-game stretch where they looked like hot garbage, right? This is different. This is real. The Lions are good enough to win that game. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, what a great story. We got 2 playoff wins. I don't know why I'm doing that voice. I'm not doing that. I'm not. Go win it. What the hell? You're here. You're here. This opportunity doesn't come along very often, as we well know. You have an opportunity to do something that's never been done. Never. Somebody asked me a few weeks ago, when are you going to be comfortable using the word Super Bowl? I did that after the first Minnesota, when you clinched the division. Because I said on the podcast, now you got a home game. I don't care who it is, you should win. That second game, wherever it is, and we hadn't gotten screwed in Dallas yet, I said it then. If you're still struggling with the idea that the Lions can win the Super Bowl, I just don't really know who you are. They just have to win 2 games. And to Joe's point earlier, they just have to win 1 game right now. That's it. That's it. Win 1 game. Win 1 game against a team that I contend you're as good as. The game's in their building. Great. So what? So what? Don't care about that. I don't know what the weather is going to be like. So what? Don't care. Don't care. Language alert, in case your ears are soft, they have a saying. We're built for this shit. They're built for this shit. This is the shit they were talking about right here. Playing a game on the road with an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. They built it for this. 3 years ago, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Chris Spielman, Sheila, they sat down. This is what they were talking about. A team that plays a crappy first half and comes out and imposes their will on Tampa. A team that can go out to San Francisco in late January and win a game. They were built for this shit. This exact shit is what they were built for. This is it. So no, I'm not satisfied. No, this isn't good enough. No, go do it. Maybe in the offseason, I'll be like, oh, no matter what happens, that was a great season, and I really enjoyed it. And Brad Holmes will crush another draft, and we'll start talking about next season. No. Right now, go win the game. Go win the game. Why not? Why not? If I failed to mention Chris Spielman, as well as Rod Graves and Mark Hollis and Mike Disner, that's the group that got together. And Barry and all these, that's the group that got together. That's the group executing the vision, right? Right now, no. You owe it to that group. You owe it to old players. You owe it to Barry. You owe it to Herman Moore. You owe it to Kevin Glover and Glover Quinn and Lomas Brown. Go do it, because this ain't easy. Where you've gotten to, and you know it better than anybody. You've been waking up for 7 months, working hard, and St. Brown catching 200 balls off the jugs machine. No, this ain't good enough. No. And that's not what grit means. It's not what salty means. It's not what this team is. They were built for this right here. So still enjoying this. Somewhere midweek, your radio station's going to come up with fake reasons why the Lions can't do it and convince you that, oh, what? No, no. To hell with it. You're there, go do it. It's right in front of you. Just go get it. That's how I feel about it. All right, one more. Did you see anything Saturday night that suggests this Lions team can't win in San Francisco? And if they do, how does it happen? Okay, so I kind of just answered it. I obviously believe they can, and the formula doesn't change. It's the same as it was week 3, week 12 last week. Clean football. Don't turn the ball over, which you didn't today. Limit penalties. There were a couple, but they didn't burn you, right? Continue to show pressure. Like, I think Art would love to give AG an F, but AG heard us or somebody weeks ago, and it might have been Art, might have been me, might have been both of us, all of us. You can't get pressure with 4. Sorry. It doesn't matter why. The why doesn't matter. You can't get pressure with 4. Find a way to get pressure. They did it. They've done it since. They did it to Dak Prescott. Barnes should have had a safety. By the way, shout out to Derek Barnes. You made up for it, bro. That play in Dallas that you missed a safety sack and it resulted in 98 yards, you are now forgiven because that was a great play on the interception. Continue to put pressure on Purdy. I do not believe Brock Purdy is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I believe that if you put pressure on him and contain McCaffrey, that's how you win the game. So part of your question was, how does it happen? No turnovers, limit penalties, get pressure on Brock Purdy, run the ball like you've been running it. That's it. Because if you run the ball well, you can do play action. And who's the best play action quarterback in the National Football League? Say it with me, Jared Goff. Nothing new, nothing you haven't heard before. When Goff's got a clean pocket, he's exceptional. He's not okay. He's not good. He's exceptional when he's got a clean pocket. He is the best play action quarterback in the league. That's not my opinion. All the advanced metrics suggest it. Look it up. Pro Football Focus is the site. Look it up. You can build out any metric you want. You can look at his numbers against the blitz. You can look at his numbers on third down. You can look at his numbers with no hurries or pressures. So going back earlier, I think it was Joe, offensive line is the key. If Frank's good, if Jonah's good, Jared Goff's good. David Montgomery's good. Jahmyr Gibbs is good. How about that kid, by the way? He got daylight, and I just said, see ya. He was gone. That was it. Bye-bye. That dude had no chance. That dude was running for his life, and he had no chance. And then he got stiff arm at the end zone just for good measure. So they got players over there. Brandon Ayuk is good. That Palmer kid's one of the fastest players in the league. I don't know if Debo's going to play. He left the game injured. I have not looked for because I didn't really give a damn. And Christian McCaffrey might be the actual MVP. So to me, it's simple. 6:30 East next week. Go out there and you got nothing to lose. Nobody predicted you would be here. Nobody's going to pick you next week outside of me and a couple million people whose area code's 313, right? Or 810 or something like that. They're not going to pick you. Their coach is good. They have creative ways to get the ball out into space. The simple answer to your question is play clean. Don't turn the ball over. Don't make mistakes. Don't miss field goals. Don't commit dumb penalties. They're talented. You're talented. Play your game. And if you play an A game and they beat you, you can live with that. But I think if you treat Purdy like you treated Baker today, stifle their run, force Purdy to make plays, it's fine. And let the chips fall. Let the chips fall. That's where I am with it. So I'm sorry. Great job, Joe. I forgot about the 248 area code. Sorry. I went right through Oakland County up to Genesee County with the 810. Everybody, and there's Lions fans all over the country. But I love it. I love it that very few people are going to pick us. I love it that we don't give a damn. We've never cared. I think this team understands what's in front of them. It's history. It's the biggest game in the history of the franchise. And that's not even hyperbole. That's legit. Bigger than the 92 game in DC, because realistically, you probably walked into that game as hopeful as you were. You probably walked into that stadium knowing you didn't have a chance. And I don't think that's the case next Sunday. I think next Sunday is two good teams. And the team that plays the best, plays the cleanest, wins the game. And in case I haven't mentioned it in a while, the Lions are one win away from the Super Bowl. 3 years ago today, when they introduced Dan Campbell as their coach, a bunch of people were like, who? What? And that's cool because Sheila had a vision. Sheila knew what she was doing. She knew that Chris Spielman and Barry Sanders and Disner and Graves and Hollis and that whole group understood her vision, understood what you needed to have to execute it. And they went and found the two guys to do it. I'm equally as excited that the future is bright, right? But forget about that for now. They win the game by going and playing Detroit Lion football. Grit, salty, villains, whichever one of those things. And if you're still out there chanting those three letters, if you're still out there doubting this team, congratulations, you're that dude. You're that dude. And you should stay away from this podcast like that dude who was talking shit weeks ago. Haven't seen him in a minute. He has not been back on. He has not commented. He has not sent me a tweet. That dude disappeared. After the Bears game, he sent me a tweet and said, I tried to tell y'all. Did you try and tell us the Lions were going to be one game away from the Super Bowl? Because I missed that in your messaging. I missed it. So that's it. I'm losing my voice. I'm too excited. There's alcohol to be consumed. There's celebrations to be done. We get to enjoy this for a minute before we start thinking about next Sunday. But to that question earlier, no, this ain't good enough. We're here. Go do it. I'm not. There's a time and a place for what you're talking about. That reflection right now, you're still in the jungle. You're still in the fight, right? You can do all that stuff later. Go win it. Go win it. All right. Appreciate you joining me. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Very loose and free today. But the Lions are one win from the Super Bowl. And that I could have just said that 168 times for 45 minutes. And I feel like it would have been a solid podcast. But thanks for joining me. Like I said, hearts, likes, reposts, all that stuff is important. It matters and is appreciated. So let's do it again next Sunday because I'll be here. You can get, no matter what happens, I'll be here next Sunday. We'll chop it up. Appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a good night. And let's go do it again next week.